The quantum communication array at Europa Deep Space Station hummed quietly in the perpetual darkness of Jupiter's moon. Dr. Sarah Chen stared at her holographic display, her eyes reflecting the soft blue glow of data streams that had suddenly changed their pattern. After 15 years of listening to the cosmos, something was different. "Director Morrison," she called, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "I think you need to see this." The array had picked up what appeared to be organized quantum fluctuations, impossibly precise variations in quantum states that couldn't be natural. The signal originated from somewhere near the Carina Nebula, over 7,500 light-years away. But what made Sarah's blood run cold wasn't the signal's existence, it was its content. As Morrison leaned over her shoulder, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic data, Sarah explained, "The signal contains mathematical sequences, complex ones, but look at this pattern here." She highlighted a recurring sequence. It's a countdown. Within hours, the Europa facility was buzzing with activity. The brightest minds in quantum physics and xenolinguistics worked around the clock to decode the signal. Dr. James Kenzo, head of the Xenological Defense Initiative, arrived from Earth via the new fusion-powered shuttle. "They're calling themselves the Nexus Dominion," Kenzo announced during the emergency briefing. "Their messages speak of peaceful contact and cultural exchange, but there's something else buried in the quantum noise." He pulled up a complex visualization of the signal structure. "These patterns here, they're testing our technological capabilities. Every response we send, they analyze our quantum manipulation techniques, our processing speed, our encryption methods. They're assessing us." In the weeks that followed, more signals arrived. Each one seemed friendly on the surface. Offers of technological exchange, proposals for diplomatic meetings, invitations to join their galactic community. But Sarah and her team discovered something disturbing in the quantum subtexts. "They're mapping our entire solar system," she explained to the United Earth Defense Council. "Each signal contains quantum-encoded probes. When we respond, the probes activate and scan everything in their path. They're building a detailed strategic map of our defenses, our resources, our vulnerabilities." Admiral Helena Rodriguez, the newly appointed head of Earth's combined military forces, studied the holographic map showing the probe network spreading through their solar system. "How long until they realize we've detected their probes?" "They already suspect," Kenzo replied. "The latest signals contain what we believe are test patterns. They're checking if we're sophisticated enough to detect their surveillance. So far, we've managed to feed them carefully crafted false data, making our technology appear far more primitive than it actually is." Sarah's team had made another crucial discovery. The Dominion's quantum communication protocols were incredibly advanced, but rigidly structured. They followed precise mathematical patterns that never deviated from their base algorithms. This level of technological sophistication, combined with absolute predictability, was strange. "It's like they've optimized themselves into a corner," Sarah explained. "Their quantum technology is amazing, but it's built on totally inflexible foundations. They don't seem to understand the concept of quantum uncertainty as anything but a problem to be eliminated." This revelation sparked an idea in Admiral Rodriguez's mind. What if that's their weakness? They've built their entire civilization on the principle of eliminating uncertainty, making everything predictable and controllable. But warfare, real warfare, is chaos theory in action. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity, with its messy, unpredictable approach to problem-solving, might have an advantage against an enemy that had engineered the very concept of randomness out of their technology. "They're coming," Sarah said quietly, highlighting a new pattern in the quantum signals. "The countdown we detected, it's accelerating. I estimate we have 6 months before they arrive." Admiral Rodriguez stood, her decision made. "Then we have 6 months to prepare a welcome they'll never see coming. Dr. Chen, Dr. Kenzo, I want you to gather every creative thinker, every out-of-the-box scientist, and engineer you can find. We're going to show the Nexus Dominion why humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to embrace chaos. As the emergency session ended, Sarah returned to her station at Europa. The quantum array continued its quiet hum, carrying messages from an advanced civilization that thought it had mastered the universe through perfect order. They were about to learn that some species thrived in uncertainty, and humanity had turned unpredictability into an art form. The game of deception had begun. While the Dominion's quantum probes mapped what they believed was a primitive civilization barely capable of interplanetary travel, humanity's greatest minds were already working on plans that would defy every prediction in the aliens' vast strategic databases. The next 6 months would determine not just the fate of Earth, but whether the galaxy's most orderly civilization could handle a species that had survived and thrived by breaking rules and embracing chaos. Project Entropy began in an abandoned particle accelerator facility deep beneath the Swiss Alps. Dr. Maya Patel stood in the circular tunnel, surrounded by a strange collection of equipment that would have made any conventional physicist question her sanity. Where the massive superconducting magnets had once accelerated particles to near-light speeds, her team had installed what looked like deliberately primitive technology. "It's beautiful in its simplicity," she explained to Admiral Rodriguez, who had come to inspect their progress. "The Dominion's entire defensive system is built on quantum predictive algorithms. They can counter any weapon or strategy they can calculate, so we're going to give them something their quantum computers can't process." The Admiral studied the array of modified radio transmitters, salvaged microwave generators, and what appeared to be thousands of small mechanical clockwork devices. "Will it work?" Maya smiled. "It already is. Watch this." She activated a sequence of switches, and the tunnel filled with a cascade of overlapping electromagnetic fields, mechanical vibrations, and quantum fluctuations that seemed to follow no logical pattern. On a nearby quantum sensor, similar to what they believed the Dominion used, the readings were pure chaos. The sensor tried to analyze the input, its processing cores attempting to find patterns that didn't exist, until it finally crashed. "Quantum white noise," Maya explained. "But it's not random. It's carefully engineered chaos. Every field and vibration is precisely calibrated to create interference patterns that defy quantum prediction. The more their systems try to analyze it, the more resources they'll waste trying to find patterns that aren't there." Meanwhile, in orbit around Mars, Commander David Okonjo was overseeing the different kind of preparation. His fleet of mining ships had been modified not with weapons, but with devices that exploited a quirk in quantum mechanics the Dominion seemed to have forgotten. "They're so focused on quantum manipulation at the microscopic level," he explained to his crew, "that they've completely overlooked macro-scale quantum effects. These ships aren't warships, they're reality scramblers." The modified mining vessels carried massive quantum entanglement disruptors, crude by Dominion standards but effective in ways their advanced technology couldn't predict. When activated, they would create zones where quantum probability itself became unreliable, playing havoc with the Dominion's precision-dependent systems. Back on Earth, Sarah Chen's team had made another breakthrough in understanding their enemy. "The Dominion doesn't just prefer order," she reported to the Defense Council. "They need it. Their entire civilization is built on the principle of perfect prediction and control. They've engineered quantum uncertainty out of their technology, their society, even their thought processes." This revelation had led to Project Babel, headed by Dr. James Kenzo. His team had developed quantum communication protocols that mimicked random errors and fluctuations, digital chaos that would seem like nonsense to the Dominion's rigid systems. "We're not just preparing to fight them," Kenzo explained. "We're preparing to confuse them. Their quantum computers will try to predict our strategies, but we're going to give them so many contradictory data points that their predictions will become useless." The preparations extended beyond technology. Admiral Rodriguez had initiated radical changes in military doctrine, training Earth's defenders to embrace unpredictability. Traditional formation-based tactics were abandoned in favor of what she called Controlled Chaos Protocol. The Dominion's strategic algorithms are based on responses to standard military doctrine, she told her officers. So we're throwing out the standard responses. Each unit will have basic objectives but complete freedom in how to achieve them. We're going to show them why humans have always been at our best when improvising. Maya's team had discovered something else about their quantum noise technology. It had an interesting psychological effect on the test subjects. The Dominion's minds are as ordered as their technology, she reported. Exposure to engineered chaos doesn't just confuse their systems, it may actually disorient their thought processes. As the months passed, humanity's preparations took on an almost artistic quality. They weren't just building defenses, they were composing a symphony of chaos. Each project was designed not only to counter the Dominion's technology, but to challenge their fundamental understanding of how the universe worked. Commander Okanjo's fleet had begun testing their reality scramblers in the asteroid belt, creating zones where quantum probability behaved in ways that would have given Schrödinger nightmares. Maya's chaos generators were being replicated and hidden in facilities around the world. Kenzo's team had developed quantum communication protocols that were effectively weaponized uncertainty. We're not going to beat them with superior technology, Admiral Rodriguez told the Council during their final review. We're going to beat them by showing them that their perfect order is a weakness, not a strength. They've spent millennia trying to eliminate uncertainty from the universe. We're going to remind them why that's impossible. As the countdown in the Dominion signals approached zero, humanity waited behind their shield of engineered chaos. They had turned their greatest disadvantage, their technological inferiority, into a weapon the enemy couldn't understand. The Dominion was about to learn that sometimes the most powerful force in the universe isn't order, but the ability to thrive in disorder. They arrived exactly when their countdown predicted, a testament to their dedication to precision that brought a smile to Sarah Chen's face. The Dominion fleet emerged from quantum space in perfect geometric formation, their crystalline ships arranging themselves in fractal patterns that would have been beautiful if they weren't so threatening. Right on schedule, Sarah murmured, watching the quantum sensor feeds from her station on Europa. And exactly where we expected them. The Dominion's adherence to mathematical perfection had made their arrival point predictable to the meter. The first transmission came exactly 3 minutes after their arrival, another precisely timed action. The quantum-encoded message was a masterpiece of structured communication, laying out their terms in perfectly ordered sequences. Greetings, primitive species, Maya Patel read aloud in the Swiss command center, her voice carrying a hint of amusement. Your solar system has been selected for incorporation into the Nexus Dominion. Resist, and you will be eliminated. Submit, and you will be elevated. You have 30 minutes to respond. Admiral Rodriguez's response was not what the Dominion expected. Instead of a formal reply, Earth's quantum transmitters began broadcasting what appeared to be random noise. Maya's engineered chaos, carefully calibrated to slip through the cracks in the Dominion's quantum filtering systems. The effect was immediate. The perfect fractal formation of the Dominion fleet wavered as their communication systems struggled to process the unpredictable signals. Their quantum computers, programmed to find patterns in everything, began dedicating more and more resources to analyzing the seemingly random transmissions. They're trying to classify the chaos, Sarah reported, watching the Dominion's response through quantum interceptors. Their systems are getting caught in recursive loops trying to predict unpredictable patterns. Commander Okanjo's mining fleet chose that moment to activate their reality scramblers. Zones of quantum uncertainty bloomed throughout the solar system, creating areas where the Dominion's precision technology became unreliable. Their ships began to drift out of formation as their quantum positioning systems failed to compensate for probability fluctuations they had never encountered. The Dominion's response was predictable. They launched their first wave of attack ships exactly as their military doctrine prescribed. Sleek crystalline vessels broke from the main fleet, advancing in perfect triangular formations toward Earth's apparent defense positions. But Earth's defenses weren't where they appeared to be. The quantum signatures the Dominion had detected were Maya's chaos generators, creating false positives that mimicked military installations. The real defenders were hidden in ways the Dominion sensors couldn't detect because they weren't looking for anything so primitive. "They're targeting our decoys," Admiral Rodriguez observed from her mobile command center, buried deep in the Australian outback. "Time to show them why humans still train for cloudy days when you can't rely on GPS." The first real human response came from places the Dominion's quantum sensors registered as empty space. Kinetic weapons, simple masses of metal accelerated to incredible speeds, emerged from hidden positions in the asteroid belt. The Dominion ships, their defensive systems calibrated for energy weapons and quantum-based attacks, were caught off guard by the purely physical assault. "Impact on 3 of their forward vessels," Okonjo reported. "Their shields are attempting to reconfigure, but they can't seem to decide what they're defending against." The Dominion fleet's perfect formation had completely dissolved. Their ships moved in erratic patterns as they tried to deal with multiple types of chaos. The quantum white noise overwhelming their communications, the reality scramblers disrupting their positioning systems, and the unexpectedly primitive attacks bypassing their advanced defenses. Dr. Kenzo's quantum communication team added to the confusion, broadcasting signals that mimicked Dominion command protocols, but contained subtle errors that triggered automated response systems. Enemy ships began receiving contradictory orders, their rigid command structure unable to handle the ambiguity. "They're trying to regroup," Sarah observed. "Look at them. They're attempting to reestablish their geometric formations even under fire. They literally can't conceive of fighting any other way." The Dominion's next move proved her right. Instead of adapting to the chaos, they began a standard orbital bombardment pattern, targeting Earth's major population centers, just as their strategic databases suggested. But humanity had prepared for this too. What their sensors detected as cities were elaborate quantum mirages, created by Maya's chaos generators. Their weapons found no real targets, while Earth's actual population had been dispersed to thousands of smaller, hidden locations, a strategy so old it predated spaceflight. "They're scanning for our command and control centers," Rodriguez reported. "They expect to find a hierarchical military structure like their own. They don't understand that we've given our defenders autonomous authority to improvise." As the first hour of battle drew to a close, the Dominion fleet had achieved none of its primary objectives. Their perfect formations were in disarray. Their quantum computers were overwhelmed trying to analyze the chaos, and their weapons had yet to strike a single meaningful target. "Send the next phase signal," Rodriguez commanded. It was time to show the Dominion that humanity was just getting started. As Maya's chaos generators spun up to full power and Okonjo's reality scramblers prepared to expand their fields, Earth's defenders moved to implement strategies that no quantum computer could have predicted, because they were making them up as they went along. The Dominion was about to learn that they weren't fighting a primitive species. They were fighting a species that had turned improvisation into an art form and chaos into a weapon. The Dominion's response came 3 days after their initial assault failed. Their crystalline ships had withdrawn to a higher orbit, maintaining a loose formation that suggested their quantum positioning systems were still struggling with the reality scramblers. But Sarah Chen noticed something different in their quantum communications. "They're changing their encryption patterns," she announced during the emergency briefing. "For the first time, they're deviating from their standard protocols. They're trying to adapt." Admiral Rodriguez studied the new data patterns on the holographic display. "They're learning." "Good. That means they can be taught." The Dominion's next attack proved they were capable of modification, if not true innovation. Instead of their usual precise formations, their ships spread out in seemingly random patterns, an attempt to mimic human unpredictability. But Dr. Maya Patel noticed something crucial. "Look at the distribution." She pointed to the tactical display. "It's pseudo-random. They're using algorithms to simulate chaos, but it's still following underlying mathematical patterns. They're trying to be unpredictable in a predictable way." Commander Okonjo's fleet took advantage of this artificial randomness. His reality scramblers weren't just creating zones of quantum uncertainty anymore. They were selectively targeting the mathematical patterns in the Dominion's new formation. Their pseudo-random movements actually make them more vulnerable, he explained to his crew. Real chaos is adaptable. Their simulated chaos is just another form of order, and we can disrupt that order. The Dominion's attempted adaptation had another weakness. Their ship's quantum computers, programmed to maintain perfect efficiency, were consuming massive amounts of energy trying to generate random numbers for their new strategy. Several vessels showed signs of power fluctuations as their systems struggled with a task that went against their fundamental programming. Dr. Kenzo's team had made another breakthrough in understanding their enemy. The Dominion's entire civilization is based on quantum computation, he explained, but they use it differently than we do. Where we see quantum uncertainty as a fundamental property to be worked with, they see it as an obstacle to be overcome. They've built their technology to eliminate quantum randomness, not harness it. This insight led to a new strategy. Instead of just broadcasting quantum white noise, Earth's defenders began transmitting signals that contained true quantum randomness, the kind of natural uncertainty the Dominion had engineered out of their systems. It's like a virus to them, Maya explained. Their quantum computers try to process it, but they can't because they're designed to eliminate exactly this kind of uncertainty. The more they try to analyze it, the more resources they waste. The Dominion's next adaptation was more aggressive. Their ships launched what appeared to be primitive projectile weapons, an attempt to mirror the kinetic attacks that had proven so effective against them. But even this showed their fundamental inability to truly understand human tactics. Their projectiles are too perfect, Rodriguez observed. Same mass, same velocity, same trajectory. They don't understand that part of what makes kinetic weapons effective is their unpredictability. They're still thinking in absolutes. Sarah's team detected something else in the Dominion's quantum communications, signs of disagreement among their command structure. Their hierarchy is breaking down, she reported. Different ships are interpreting their adaptation protocols differently. They've never had to deal with conflicting interpretations of orders before. The conflict was having an unexpected effect on the Dominion's social structure. Their rigid hierarchy, based on perfect information flow and absolute certainty, was beginning to show cracks. Some ships began showing signs of independent decision-making, something that had apparently never been part of their military doctrine. Maya saw an opportunity in this development. We're not just fighting their technology anymore, she told the Defense Council. We're introducing chaos into their entire system of thinking. Every adaptation they attempt forces them to question their fundamental assumptions about order and control. Admiral Rodriguez ordered a new phase of the defense. Earth's forces began implementing what she called cascading chaos. Each defensive action was designed not just to counter the Dominion's attacks, but to force them to adapt in ways that would make them more vulnerable to the next phase. We're not just teaching them that they can't predict us, she explained. We're teaching them that their entire approach to warfare, to existence, is flawed. The universe isn't meant to be perfectly ordered. Life thrives on adaptation, on uncertainty, on chaos. As the Dominion fleet struggled to maintain coherence, their ships showing increasing signs of systemic stress, humanity pressed its advantage. Commander Okonjo's reality scramblers began creating more complex probability distortions, while Maya's chaos generators transmitted increasingly sophisticated patterns of quantum uncertainty. The Dominion was facing a choice they had never encountered in their millennia of expansion: adapt truly and fundamentally, or face defeat at the hands of a species they had dismissed as primitive. Their next move would determine not just the outcome of the battle, but whether their civilization could survive an encounter with the true nature of the universe they had tried so hard to perfect. The quantum signal that reached Earth's defense network was unlike anything they had seen from the Dominion before. It was chaotic, almost organic in its complexity, and it came from a single crystalline ship that had broken formation entirely. They're requesting direct communication, Sarah Chen announced, her voice tense with surprise. Not in their usual structured protocols. They're using our quantum chaos channels. The message came from what translated as a pattern breaker, a concept that hadn't existed in the Dominion's rigid hierarchy until now. The alien commander's transmission carried none of the mathematical precision of their earlier communications. We understand now. The alien's message resonated through the quantum channels. Your chaos, it is not primitive. It is enlightenment. Dr. Maya Patel and Admiral Rodriguez shared a knowing look. The sustained exposure to human unpredictability, to engineered chaos, and true quantum uncertainty had done more than just disrupt the Dominion's technology. It had triggered an evolution in their thinking. Their ships are changing formation, Commander Okonjo reported from his fleet. Not in any pattern we've seen before. Each vessel is moving independently, adapting to local conditions. They're actually learning. The Dominion fleet was undergoing a transformation. Some ships maintained their rigid formations, their quantum computers still trying to impose order on chaos. Others began exhibiting truly random movements, their crews experimenting with concepts that had been forbidden for millennia. Dr. Kenzo's analysis confirmed what they were seeing. The fleet is fragmenting into two distinct groups, he explained. Those who cling to absolute order, and those who are awakening to the power of uncertainty. They're experiencing a philosophical schism on a civilizational scale. The pattern breaker's ship approached Earth under a flag of truce. Another concept that had to be explained to them. Its crystalline structure had changed, the perfect geometric patterns now interwoven with seemingly random variations that somehow made it more beautiful, more alive. For 10,000 years, we sought to perfect the universe, the alien commander explained during the first direct meeting. We believed that by eliminating uncertainty, we would achieve ultimate power, but you showed us that true power lies in embracing uncertainty, in adapting to chaos rather than trying to eliminate it. The revolution spreading through the Dominion fleet was unlike anything in their history. Ships that had awakened to this new understanding began experimenting with hybrid technologies, combining their quantum precision with intentional elements of uncertainty. The results were extraordinary. They're not just copying our methods, Maya observed. They're evolving beyond them, finding their own way to balance order and chaos. But not all of the Dominion embraced this change. A significant portion of their fleet, led by the most ancient command ships, rejected what they saw as corruption of their perfect system. The conflict that had begun as humanity versus the Dominion was transforming into something else, a battle between evolution and stagnation. Admiral Rodriguez made a decision that would reshape the galaxy. We're offering our support to the pattern breakers, she announced to the Defense Council. Not because we have to, but because they represent something vital, the capacity to change, to grow, to challenge fundamental assumptions. The battle that followed was unlike anything either species had experienced. The pattern breakers, combining their advanced technology with newly embraced uncertainty, fought alongside human defenders against the remnants of the old Dominion. Earth's chaos generators and reality scramblers worked in concert with evolved crystalline ships that had learned to surf the waves of quantum probability. Look at them, Sarah whispered, watching the combined fleet move in patterns that were neither purely ordered nor completely random, but something new entirely. They're beautiful. The old guard of the Dominion never stood a chance. Their rigid responses, their inability to adapt, became their downfall. One by one, their ships either retreated into quantum space or surrendered to the new reality they could no longer deny. In the aftermath, as human and pattern breaker ships drifted together in the outer solar system, the alien commander shared a final insight. We thought we were coming to elevate a primitive species, they communicated. Instead, you elevated us. You showed us that true advancement lies not in perfecting the universe, but in perfecting our ability to adapt to it. The pattern breakers didn't stay to rule or guide humanity. Instead, they departed with a promise of future cooperation, carrying with them the seeds of revolution to the far reaches of the Dominion. They left behind several of their evolved ships as gifts, not weapons or tools of war, but instruments of exploration and discovery. They'll return, Maya predicted, watching the crystalline ships disappear into quantum space. Not as conquerors or teachers, but as equals. There's so much we can learn from each other now. Admiral Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of humanity's first hybrid ship, its hull a seamless blend of human ingenuity and evolved Dominion technology. We didn't just defend Earth, she reflected. We proved something fundamental about life itself, that the greatest strength isn't in imposing order on chaos, but in learning to dance with it.